Welcome to our session on lethal genes. In the last session, we discussed about the two types of lethal genes, and in this session, we are going to see the third one, which is sex-linked lethal genes. So, sex-linked lethal genes are usually, or sex-linked inheritance usually refers to those inheritance which are related to the X chromosome. And such an example of sex-linked lethal gene is hemophilia. So, hemophilia is a hereditary disorder which is caused by deficiency in clotting factors, which results in impaired blood clotting and coagulation. So, for every sex linked disorder, not only hemophilia, for every sex linked disorder, there is a special inheritance pattern as shown here. So this particular gene, so in every for a normal gene as well as for a gene with a mutation, usually the X chromosome from the father. So father is having sex chromosome X as well as Y. Of this, the X chromosome will be contributed only to the daughters and Y chromosome to the sons. And in the case of a female, in the case of a mother or a female, what happens is her one of her X chromosome or only she donates the X chromosome to her sons. So for a male, the X chromosome comes from the mother and Y chromosome from the father. Never father donates his X chromosome to the sons. Father donates his X chromosome, all or the X chromosome only to his daughters and not to his sons. Father's contribution of sex chromosome to the sons is the Y chromosome, and always the male individuals are having the X chromosome from the mothers, not from their fathers. So that is a general rule that is to be taken up or taken into consideration when you are discussing the sex linked inheritances. And another feature of sex linked inheritance is that it shows something which is called as a criss-cross inheritance. So, criss-cross inheritance is related to the difference in sex. That means if in one generation, if that particular gene is expressed in male, in the next generation, it will be expressed in female, and in the subsequent generation it will be uh, or it will be shown by the males. So there is such a crisscross pattern in that, or such a jumping pattern in that, and that is what is called as crisscross inheritance, which is exhibited for every sex linked or X linked inheritances. So here also you can see from the father. So here the red indicates that he is an affected with hemophilia, and from the affected father, the defect is in the sex chromosome or the X chromosome. That is why it is shown as red here, and that he donates it to his daughters. Daughters being the mother being normal, the daughters will be carriers, they will not show the disease. And when these females, they give birth to they give birth to their, or in the next generation, what happens is this trait appears in the in 1/4 of his of her sons. There is a chance that 25 percentage of or if you take males alone, 50 percentage of his or this particular individual's sons are having the susceptibility to have this particular condition or this particular trait. So here you can see, as I said earlier, here father which is affected. As I said, father donates the X chromosome only to his daughters. That's why this red is there only to the daughters and not to the sons, because X chromosome for males comes from the mother, which is normal. And when one of this individual marries a normal man, you can see that uh, this is the 50, or this is the sons or males which are born out of this couple. Out of the males born out of this couple, half or 50 percentage is having a chance to be affected by hemophilia. That's why we said the effect of a particular disordered gene, which is X linked, expresses in a crisscross pattern. That means in this particular generation it is shown in male, in this particular generation it is not shown, because they are all carriers. this will not be expressed. We do not know whether they are having hemophilia or not. But when you come to the next generation, the third generation, the sons are affected. There is a chance of sons born out of this couple to get affected by this particular disorder. And this is what is called as crisscross. That means from grandfather to grandson, bypassing this particular generation. The disease or this particular condition, you can see this is the grandfather of this particular child. So, from grandfather directly to grandson, avoiding this particular link, and that is what is called as crisscross inheritance. That is shown for not for only hemophilia, for every sex-linked genes, whether it be normal sex-linked genes or whether it be a disordered gene. Every gene which is sex linked follows this particular feature, which is called as the crisscross inheritance. So hemophilia, as I said, this is a clotting deficiency because the allele responsible is carried on the X chromosome. The affected individuals are predominantly males, as you can see here. That means always male is having more chance to get affected. When both the individuals are having hemophilia, then there is more probability for getting individuals or getting a generation with a hemophilia. But when a hemophilic man marries a normal man, or or a carrier woman is marrying a normal man, the this particular law can be applied. That is, as the X chromosome, it is affecting the X chromosome. This particular disease or this particular disorder can be seen more in males than in females, because males are considered to be heterozygous for the case with the sex chromosome. As a result, when they get one deficient X chromosome, they show that particular character, and that's what happens with hemophilia. But females having two sex chromosome, when they are heterozygotes, they do not express this particular hemophilia. They will be normal, but when they become homozygous for that particular one, that's why I said when both the parents are having hemophilia, their female or their daughters are also having a chance to get affected. But in this case, which is discussed here, if this is the case, there is a lesser chance for females to be affected. In most cases, males are prone to be affected by sex linked disorders. And normally, what happens in hemophilia is normally the clotting factors helps in temporarily closing of the wound, and then but in hemophiliacs, what happens is this cannot be closed. As a result, a small wound can also cause this bleeding, and and that may be fatal in hemophiliac individuals. So the alleles responsible for hemophilia are also called as semi-lethals or sublethals because they cause death only in some individuals or organisms with the affected genotype. So they are called as semi-lethals or sublethals because here also they are having the hemophilia gene, but they do not show, they are not affected or they are not lethal. It causes lethality only in certain conditions. Okay, and that is why it is called as semi-lethal or sublethal. So this is what is called as sex-linked lethal genes, also called as sublethal or semi-lethal genes. So we'll be discussing a great detail of sex-linked inheritance. We have a complete module of sex-linked inheritance. We'll be going in detail with this cross inheritance, etc., in that particular chapter. So coming to the last one of lethal genes, which is conditional lethal genes. So conditional lethal, from the name itself, these genes are expressed only in certain circumstances or certain conditions. And one such example is favism. Is a condition which results from the deficiency of an enzyme, which is called as glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase, which comes in our glucose metabolism or metabolic pathway. When carbohydrates are being metabolized, the enzyme comes into role. When glucose is converted to pyruvate, the glycolytic pathway, glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase plays its role. And favism is a disorder that is due to the deficiency of this particular enzyme, and this is most common in people who are in the Mediterranean, African, Southeast Asian, and Sephardic Jewish descendants. So these people show this particular trait, which is called as favism. So the disease was named because the individuals. Uh, That means the individuals who are having this conditional lethal genes, when they eat fava beans, so that is a cereal, the fava beans, they develop this hemolytic anemia. So that means when they do not have, that is what is called as condition. That means if they do not eat fava beans, they are okay. They do not have such a problem. They are normal. But whenever that is what is called as a condition. If they eat fava beans, they have hemolytic anemia, and that may cause death if they do not know whether they are having favism, because favism is not expressed in other conditions. Whenever they eat this one condition is fava beans, when they eat this particular cereal, the fava beans, what happens is that results in, because of the lack of this enzyme, this result in hemolysis. The RBCs will be ruptured, and the ruptured RBCs, they will clog all the blood vessels, and clogging of the blood vessels mainly in the kidney will result in kidney damage, and if this is unknown, that will result in death. That is why it is called as conditional lethal. And affected individuals, or the individuals who are having this deficiency of this particular enzyme, also show therapeutic, or affected individuals also develop this anemia or hemolysis when they are administered with the anti-malarial drugs. Because in this particular regions, Africa, etc., when malaria was a pandemic there, all the individuals were given this malarial drugs or anti-malarial drugs. So when anti-malarial drugs was given for such individuals, because they do not express any phenotype, they are normal. When they were given this particular one, they showed hemolysis, and many of them died because of hemolysis, and also the rupturing of the blood vessels, blocking the blood vessels, and kidney damage, which follows that. So this particular allele is causing lethality in certain condition. One, it is when they eat fava beans, and the other one is when they are administered with antimalarial drugs. So, if that is a lethal gene, we said that this is common among people. And why this gene is common among people? The reason is that these individuals who are having favism, they are less susceptible to malaria. The reason is because the glucose 6 phosphate is absent in them, or the glucose 6 phosphate enzyme is absent in them. There is a defect in their metabolism, and because of that, this particular the malarial parasite cannot live inside the RBC, because malarial parasite, they live inside the RBCs. Because of this particular deficiency, they cannot survive inside the RBCs, and hence such individuals are less susceptible to malaria. The flavism, or the individuals with favism are less susceptible to malaria, and that is the reason why evolution have uh, selected such individuals to populate in such population and become common. Otherwise, they would have become as a recessive one with lower number. But this favism, the individuals with favism is very common in this particular population, and this is because of the reason, because when malaria there was a malaria infestation, all the normal individuals, they got affected, and their number declined. But those who had this favism, they survived because they were infected with malaria, and hence this the individuals with this particular defect became common in that particular population. So with this, we come to the end of our discussion with lethal genes, and our discussion with the variations of dominance, which was the non our discussion on allelic interaction. So we were discussing gene interaction, and in gene interaction we were discussing about allelic interaction, and in allelic interaction we discussed about different types of, or the variations of dominance. We discussed about complete dominance, then haploinsufficiency, then dominant mutants. After that, we discussed about incomplete dominance followed by codominance, and today we discussed completely on lethal genes, four types of lethal genes, which are dominant lethals, recessive lethals, then sex-linked lethals, and conditional lethals. So with this, we are coming to the end of allelic interactions. In the next session, we will be discussing about the non-allelic interaction. That is the second part of the module, which is gene interaction. Thank you for hearing.